right. Welcome to Vibe Check, everyone, a place where we have open, honest, and authentic conversations about the human side of business. Our goal here is to help you achieve better business outcomes with people-led initiatives. And to get there, there is only room for real talk and genuine advice. No sugarcoating allowed. So what's a vibe check? Well, put simply, it's a phrase for asking, how are you doing, really? It opens the door to meaningful conversations between colleagues, professionals, but most importantly, human beings. My name is Julie Janot, or JJ for short, and I am your host for this series. My mission in life is to help organizations understand the value of placing their people at the heart of their strategy and their business. And that's exactly what you can expect from our Vibe Check conversations. So let's get right into it. I'm super excited today. Our guest is Michele Bailey. Michele, welcome to Vibe Check.
I'm so excited to be here, JJ.
I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am to have you on the show. I'm like losing my words. So by means of introduction, I'm going to go over your bio very quickly. So Michele Bailey is the founder of the Blazing Group, a brand and culture agency born from her strategy-first approach to business, flair for sharing amazing stories, which is what you're going to get today, and a desire to enhance employee wellness while pursuing business goals. Her advertising agency, as I said, Blazing Group, is turning branding inside out with My Big Idea, an employee mentoring and wellness program that is designed to propel individuals forward in their quest for personal and professional success. Exciting, no? Countless companies have discovered greater team cohesion and boosted their bottom line results as a direct result from Michele's proprietary, sorry for my French, process. Working together and anchored in a practice of gratitude, the companies of the Blazing Group help their clients brand from within, thus driving successful marketing programs from the ground up. You will see Michele's passion for gratitude is absolutely contagious. I can't wait for you to hear her story. And her book called The Currency of Gratitude, which was published in 2021 by ForbesBooks, offers a moving and straightforward guide to enabling business growth using gratitude as your currency. Now, if you're like me, you're like antsy on your chair, wanting to listen to her story. So again, I'm amazed. I feel so privileged to have you on the show, Michele. And we're going to talk about gratitude today. Like I said in the intro, a topic that you're very, very passionate about. I had the pleasure of hearing you speak at the HRPA conference last May in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And that's when we connected, and I decided that we should absolutely seize the opportunity to have you on Vibe Check. So officially, again, welcome, and thank you for being our guest today.
Again, excited to be here because you're all about the human element in HR, and that is passion to me. That's my passion, people.
Well, likewise, so we have that in common, which makes me even more excited to tackle our topic today. So as the tradition goes, we always start with our vibe check questions. So Michele, can I ask you, how are you doing really this morning?
Well, to be quite frank, I'm overwhelmed. I have a house full of guests that have come over the weekend and are staying for 5 or 6 weeks. But it's not just me worrying about the guests, because they actually are coming to watch my pets while I go up fishing to the French River for 2 weeks. So it's a win-win for all of us. But, I want to make sure people are enjoying themselves, having a good time, eating well, drinking good wine. So a bit overwhelmed.
Oof. I mean, it sounds like a bag full of like mixed emotions. Like you're a little bit anxious because you want to be a good host, but then you're a little bit nervous also, but excited to have all these amazing people and a fishing trip planned. How cool. Have you been fishing for a long time?
No, it's my husband's passion. I like boating and the socializing that comes with being on a French River. So I do it actually to kind of make him happy because he's such a strong supporter of mine. So just suck it up, Buttercup, make sure I have a good drink and get on that boat and I'm good.
It's a win-win. Like he gets to do his passion and you get to connect with the people that you love doing things that you love doing, sharing good food, good drinks. All of that. It sounds like something I would also agree to. Amazing. So we're here to talk about gratitude. And before I move on, thank you for sharing candidly and honestly how you're doing this morning. Um, so yeah, I'd love to start the conversation by defining gratitude. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your definitions on that, and then we'll get into more of the how-to kind of questions. But let's just, as we always do, let this flow and be the amazing conversation that I know it will be. So why don't you kick us off by defining what gratitude is to you, Michelle?
Well, I think the dictionary defines gratitude as being thankful and
Hmm.
appreciating of other people's kindnesses. But to me, gratitude is something a lot more active. It's more of a verb. It's about active listening. It's
Hmm.
about being present, really being present. It's about letting silence do the lifting when you need to let it do the lifting. It's about using gratitude as an investment. That's why my book is called The Currency of Gratitude, because I believe gratitude is an investment you make in people and it comes back to you multiplying. So for me, gratitude is active, it's current, and the more you push it out every day in whatever way you can, the more it comes back to you.
Hmm. I love that you define that using a verb. It makes me think of, okay, so this is always in my background. John Mayer is one of my favorite artists. And we got married, my husband and I, on one of his songs. And the song title is Love is a Verb. And I immediately hung on that term because that's what it is. It's not words. You show love in action, right? And it's the same thing for gratitude. It's something you do, it's an action. So I love that you said that. I think it's bang on. And I agree. I agree with your decision, your definition. So this is like this happened kind of, I don't want to say randomly, but kind of by surprise, right? I think in your life, in the story that I heard you share before, how did you first become familiar with the topic of gratitude altogether? Like, how did it arrive in your life?
Well, I couldn't define it when I started my business blazing
Mm,
27, 28 years ago. I didn't know and couldn't define what I was doing and practicing every day with clients, with team members, with prospects, with suppliers, the whole gamut in my
mhm,
world. But I went out of my way to show people that I heard what they said, that I appreciated their contribution to whatever they were doing for me, um, to showing up and being there and also giving me active listening. So I started my gratitude practice by just trying to be real and try to connect with people in whatever way worked best for them, because
mhm,
gratitude and appreciation shows up differently for everybody. And then what I saw through my journey as an entrepreneur and still see is when you show up as your authentic self, really appreciate what they have to offer, you truly listen to them and you care, they care back. They care and they take you with them because you make them feel good. And they can't define it, and I couldn't define it, but it was just about really the energy transfer amongst people. So when that started to go, and then I started taking note writing, like I'm a big note person, and I started doing these handwritten notes that I would go to my banker's office and I would see my handwritten collection on her shelf. I would go to my supplier, I'd see it in his office. Like I started seeing all these things I was doing showing up in so many ways. So didn't think much of it because it just became my thing.
mm,
Then about 6 years ago, my managing partner here at Blazing, Eric Marshall, um, I was asked to speak at a conference and open with 5 minutes of talking about something I'm passionate about. So he said to me, "So what is it you're going to talk about for 5 minutes?" I said, "Oh, personal and professional well-being for employees." He
yeah.
said, "So that's your passion that you're going to talk about for 5 minutes?" I said, "Absolutely." He said, "Oh." I said, "Why?" He said, "Michelle, your passion, well-being is important to you, but it's not your passion. Your passion is gratitude." And he walked right out of the room. And I remember looking at him thinking, who's he to tell me what my passion is? He can't define me. And then when I took a few moments to think about it and really ingest what he said, he was right. A man was right. He told me my passion was gratitude. And once he taught and showed me that this is my passion, I decided to embrace it and try to teach other people that if you embrace a practice of gratitude, it comes back to you threefold. And as you know, JJ, because you've heard a few stories, it has saved me personally and professionally during the darkest hours of my entrepreneurial journey.
I love how this was always a part of who you were. And this magical aha moment with Eric, right? Eric, you said his name? With Eric just saying, Michelle, no, like this is not your passion. I see you and I know. And you being like, you're right, and owning up to it, but not just owning up to it, also embracing this passion and the journey to share it with others, I think is a beautiful gift to people, to humanity, to society. I think, basically, thank you. Thank you for doing that for everyone around you who is willing to listen and accept the gift that you're willing to give them, because this has so many positive benefits for us as people, but also for organizations, for societies, for schools, for the applications of this are universal, I find. So thank you. It's
Well,
inspired me personally and professionally, I can confirm.
Well, JJ, you get it. And what I tell people is they go, like, is your gratitude practice about being grateful for the three things that you're grateful for every day, or your gratitude journal? I
Right.
said, I'm not discounting that. And that
No.
is important. And I do write down things every week. But for me, if you push gratitude outside of yourself, that is the biggest benefit, not only for you, but
Yeah.
for the people you choose to push it out to. So when I
Hmm.
started teaching people how to be grateful and show appreciation to other people, what I didn't realize, it came back to me threefold.
Yeah.
The more I taught, the more it came back to me and showed up in so many ways and continues to show up in different ways, because there's such a lack of true appreciation and gratitude out there.
There
And we
is.
are all craving, we are human beings first, and we are craving acknowledgement from others to show that we matter and somebody cares. And gratitude does that.
Absolutely. It's a universal human need, right? We see it from in our kids from a very, very young age, and from adults around us, and from elderly people. Everyone wants to know that they're cared for and that they matter to someone, to at least someone. Here at Office Vibes, sticking to definitions and kind of demystifying some terms here, we focus on recognition as one of the 10 key engagement metrics, as we like to call them. We could say engagement drivers, if you prefer, and how recognition has a positive effect on the employee experience and workers and all of that. I'm curious to hear you on this. Do you think that recognition and gratitude are the same, or are they different?
To me, JJ, they're different.
Okay.
Um,
Tell me why.
to me, recognition is like a public acknowledgement or a private acknowledgement for
Hmm.
something that has been well done, or an achievement that's been like I've been with the company 5 years, 10 years, or this project was done on time and on budget. That to me is recognition, and I think that's really, really important.
Yes.
But for me, gratitude is heartfelt, it's spontaneous, it's
Hmm.
unexpected, and it pulls at your heartstrings because it's real.
I agree.
It's not as I tell people in the HR space, this isn't a box to check off. This is not what this is. This is about spontaneous communication, appreciation, or acknowledgement that someone's not expecting to get. But when they get it, JJ, I just watch people's eyes. When I give a gift of gratitude, I watch people's eyes and I watch their shoulders, and they just kind of, and then they lean in. They
Yes.
lean in. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking that's when I started to see, oh my God, this is so powerful because people are responding to this and people are craving acknowledgement. You think when you go into a restaurant and you ask the server what's your name? What's your name first? Before you go into the specials, what's your name? I want to call you by your name.
Yes.
When you go into a hotel room and you see a beautifully made bed, the next day you come in and I write a note and I said, thank you so much. I had a really big day for tomorrow. You helped shape my day by creating such a great environment for me. And housekeepers start to write me back.
Yes. It's present in all aspects of life. I agree with you. I would say like appreciation and gratitude go in the same bucket. I've heard you interchangeably use the same terms. And when we did the research before we launched our recognition feature in Office Vibe, which we call Good Vibes, they're cards exactly like you do, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. But they're really cards that you can pick and send to some of your colleagues. We were very careful to make the distinction between what you mentioned. Recognition is something, and gratitude and appreciation is something else. And so, in our collection of cards that we offer our users, we're really focused on providing that balance so we can have a little bit of both, and they can switch through the different cards until they see one, whether it's to recognize an accomplishment or achieving a goal, which is, as you said, very important, or it's just saying like, hey, Michele, working with you and completing projects is just like a piece of cake. You brighten my day just by smiling on our virtual meetings. This is appreciation for who you are as a person. And it's equally as important, I would say. But
Totally.
I tend to agree. There's something, it feels great to know that you're getting recognition because of years of service or for working really hard and intensely on a certain project. Yes, it feels good, but there's something fundamentally good in receiving gratitude for who you are and the impact you have by behaving a certain way with people. It touches you, to your point, very differently. It touches your heart, where the other one, I guess, touches your brain a little bit more. Would you say? Yeah. So, like, I'm sure some people are listening here and saying, oh, okay, great. This is great. This is great for humans to show gratitude in all aspects of their lives, including work. To convince some of maybe more of the skeptical ones, how does this pay off in the workplace? What are the positive effects of expressing gratitude in the workplace?
Employee engagement scores go up. Culture goes up. Collaboration goes up. Cooperation goes up. Trust. When you are working from the heart, and how can you measure that? Well, let me use an example actually that's well known, and it's with Doug Conant of Campbell's Soup.
Yes.
This CEO, you've heard of this one, JJ? Did you hear what he's
Yes.
done? I'll
Yes.
share it with your listeners.
Yes, please.
This man came into Campbell's Soup in 2001, and this Campbell's Soup, we all know Campbell's Soup Company, had the lowest engagement scores in probably the top Fortune 500. They were at the bottom. People were disgruntled, unhappy. They brought Doug in, and for the next 10 years, Doug wrote 10 to 30 notes to employees, everyone. Every employee got a note as Doug walked the floor and observed what they did and their contribution to the company. In the space of 10 years, Doug had written over 30,000 handwritten notes. And he went from the lowest employee engagement scores to one of the highest. And as he said to his stockholders, the action is in the interaction. So what he did is, instead of telling or talking, he showed up and he showed them and he told them, and he told them by the power of a written word.
Wow.
He's my hero.
No kidding. He's mine too. I mean, what more proof do you want that it works? You know, it was attached to a trackable metric. You could tell everything went up. Simple math. It's
Simple math.
only simple math. Absolutely. So I can already anticipate your answer on this because you touched on it earlier. But would you say that gratitude is an HR owned concept or a manager owned concept?
I would tell you gratitude is starts peer to peer,
Yeah.
all the way up and all the way down.
All directions.
Sideways. There is no, if HR told me to make sure I write a gratitude note every week to somebody, I would be resentful.
Mm.
If an innovative leader or a leader who cares about people on her own reaches out and tells me what she really admires about me and how I help her on her journey of work,
Yeah.
that I'll take a bullet for that leader.
Yeah.
And in my practice of what I teach and what I show, when I see leaders like that who go out of their way to acknowledge other people and appreciate them in whatever love language or gratitude language speaks to them, I
Yeah.
see almost no turnover. I see healthy boundaries. I see empathetic leaders, and I see leaders who care. Then you need to get the job done, and these people work hard. But there's one leader in particular I think of. She has almost no turnover in an industry, in the financial sector, because she is so real, appreciative, and grateful to the people who work with her. And she takes every opportunity, tell them, show them, share with them.
It's crazy how it sounds so simple, but it's really something that needs to live within you and really need to understand and believe in the power of that. And you have to be committed to putting it into action, which takes me to, I guess, the second theme I wanted us to explore together is how to. How do you start developing that? Because what you're describing to me and what you do daily, weekly, in expressing your gratitude and teaching others to do that is really developing a habit of showing up, actually actively listening and being grateful for what people do and who they are and the impact they have on you. What would you say is the very first step to becoming a more grateful person?
Um, for me, and I actually just led a workshop on this, on teaching leaders to implement gratitude in their lives, with their personal and professional. So the
Okay.
first thing I ask people to do is reflect. Reflect upon the people who have made a difference in your life. That's the easiest. Start with maybe 10, 15 people, write down their name,
Okay.
write down how they have impacted your life, and write down a word that maybe describes them or what they do for you. So, for instance, I might write down my daughter, Katrina.
Mm-hmm.
Her impact to my life, she's my biggest cheerleader. One word that describes her is fearless. So, using those key messages, you just keep going down people who've impacted your life, how they've impacted my life. And then what you do is you start to create a support network in the different areas of your life: emotional, mental, physical, professional, career, other mentors, mentees. And you
Mm-hmm.
start writing their names down. So you're getting, again, I'm asking you to start simple and then
Mm-hmm.
start to go out and look at your support network. Then maybe you're looking at clients and winning business.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at referral clients, people who refer business to you. You're looking at people that have been shown you gratitude. So as you start to put this in play, then I like to answer, for the most part, 5 or 6 questions that I know will help me tell someone how they've impacted my life.
Mm-hmm.
So the questions I'd like to answer from my own gratitude journey is: one word that describes you. I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about the other person. You came into my life. You bring me joy by. You inspire me because. I hope to add to our journey together by. And I want to thank you for. I answer those 5 questions. Takes me less than 5 minutes. I have done it more than 350 times. And I hand it over mostly face to face. And I give them, I said, I just want to let you know the impact you've had in my life. And this is a reminder to you always to remind you of the impact you've had in my life and why I'm grateful that we are friends, colleagues, peers. I go out of my way to do that. And that's when Forbes came to me and said, you got to write a book and teach leaders how easy this is, because you make it sound so easy.
You really do. You really do.
I spend less than 10 minutes, usually on Sunday. So I take my big idea planner,
Mm-hmm.
and in my weekly, I sit down what's to do personally, what's to do professionally, who do I need to reflect on, and who do I need to thank.
It's part of your routine.
It's my routine. It is totally my routine. And I walked into a colleague's house, not a colleague, sorry, another peer who also owns a company. And I walked in, she invited me over for dinner. And when I walked into her home and I looked at her office credenza, she had every gratitude card I have sent her for the last 5 years. And she had actually framed one. And she said, I said, what are you doing with all those cards? She goes, this reminds me that I have an impact on someone's life outside my own.
Yeah.
And when I'm having really tough days, I pick them up and read them to remind me that I am valuable. And I too have gifts to give.
I mean, I'm out of words. There's nothing to add to that. It's beautiful, wonderful, amazing. I love it. And when you showed me that weekly planner, it reminded me, like, this is something I do every Saturday morning. I get up with my coffee. I take my book. There's a book. I have all my recipes. The kids are asleep. My husband's asleep. I'm watching the news, taking my coffee, and writing down the grocery list and the meal list for the week. This is just something I do. It's part of my routine. How easy is it to say, well, it's the same for who I want to be grateful on for this week? It's just committing to adding that into your routine. And to your point, the impacts, I mean, they're just so amazing, both for the person on the receiving end, but for you also as a giver. How great does it feel to know that you gave someone that feeling of, wow, I have gifts, I'm valued, I'm appreciated? I mean, it's wonderful. So let's say I'm an HR leader listening to us chat about this great gift. What are some examples of short-term initiatives an HR leader can put in place or do to improve gratitude in their workplace?
A couple of thoughts I have on that. Lead by example.
Yes.
Lead by example is the first thing I would tell you to do as any leader, HR otherwise. You want gratitude to be a practice, start by leading
yourself.
The other thing I would encourage HR leaders to do is look at creating or delivering a program or a mini workshop where it's all about the individual first, not about the company. And I don't want to do a sales pitch because that's kind of not who I am.
Yep.
But with the My Big Idea workshop, this is all companies that hire me to do this, hire me because they care and their employees matter. So when I'm hired to do that workshop, I start by telling them, this is all about you. It's not about the company. It's about you. And I'm here because people really care. It's usually an innovative leader that hires me, a brand and culture leader. HR leaders are starting. But when I start that workshop, and can be as tight as 90 minutes, we start with reflection. We talked about that earlier. But the questions have to do all about you. Like, what values do you have? Who showed up for you when you needed it the most? Who didn't show up that you expected to be there? So I start with reflection because I want to put people in a mindset of think about what's happened in the past year because we're moving forward. And then we talk about personal goals and professional goals and health and wellness goals. And I ask the tough questions in the workshop, like, are you at your best emotionally and mentally? If not, are you prepared to do something about it? And what does optimal mental health look like to you?
Mhm.
Then we have a section with finance and wealth. Then we have a section about refueling. What do you need to do to be the best version of yourself? Forget about being a mom, a wife, like a partner. What do you need to do for you so that you have lots of gas in your engine? Then I also have people build out relationship goals. And under relationship goals, I have people build out a support network. And in that support network, there are areas where you need to put boundaries so that you have the energy you need to show up in the world as the best you.
Yeah.
And then I end with gratitude goals. Let's start small. Let's start with one note a week,
Yeah.
maybe one note a month, whatever works for you, and start to answer the questions that I told you about earlier. And once you start to do that and you see what happens, it's like it just fuels you to keep going.
Absolutely.
And people say to me, "Oh, I don't have to tell my husband how I feel. He knows. I don't need to tell my
No,
children
you
how I
do.
feel." Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. Because we get caught up on life, and sometimes we're angry, tired, frustrated. But when you have set an intention and show them how they show up in your life and what you value most about them, it just a lot of real, transparent, and vulnerable conversations continue to happen.
Yeah, it really does. I agree. It's it's an enabler of so many other great things that will follow.
Yeah.
But to your point, it starts with you and it starts small with a commitment and intention to deliver on that. Absolutely. And I love the idea on how you're attaching that to a process where you're setting all these goals for yourself. Um, I feel it enables people to be their whole selves in all aspects of their lives, including work. Would you agree?
Yeah, totally, including work. But you asked about what would I tell HR leaders? Care about the individual first,
First.
and everything else falls into place. Like I have employees here at Blazing who have been here 25 years, 23, 17, 19, 11. And what I tell people is when you know that they know, not you know, they know how much you appreciate them and understand when challenges are happening in their personal life, and you give them grace. I'll just use the word grace. I like that word.
Mm-hmm.
They come back and work for you harder, better, faster, because sticky people stay. When they know you care, and I'm in an industry, Blazing, where marketing, it is so cutthroat. Average, turnover rate is 18 months. And I have stood the test of time. And that's why when people said to me, how do you hold on to your people? And that's why I created my big idea to show people, this is how I hang on to my people. I put them first. And then out of that, Forbes came to me and says, gratitude. You got a different take on gratitude. Teach us, show us. And sometimes I write gratitude notes and it's to people I don't like, who I felt might have wronged me, or people who have done bad by me, but I need to forgive. And I write those notes. Sometimes I don't send them out, to be perfectly honest,
Okay.
but I write that note for me so I can move on from how I felt wronged.
Oh, wow. That's powerful.
And it was an interview I did on gratitude when I first launched the book, with a gentleman who said, "Michele, isn't forgiveness a form of gratitude?" And
Mm-hmm.
he put me on the spot. Oh my gosh, he put me on the spot. And he said, "I read your book and you've had some really bad times as an entrepreneur. Have you
Mm-hmm.
forgiven those people who've wronged you?" And boy, he kind of
Whoa.
took the wind out of my sails, and I had to think about that. And then I sat down and I wrote a note that I never mailed. I wrote two.
Huh.
And that allowed me to move forward with less anger and resentment for how I had been wronged. So,
Wow.
yes, forgiveness and gratitude also helps you. It helps you.
It does. have to ask, was there an occasion where you did send that type of note? Or did
That
you
I
all?
have,
Yeah.
yes, that I have sent, yes. Um, I've sent them to people that I know don't really like me, and I kind of addressed it in a nice and funny way in the note.
Uh-huh.
Like, I know that I'm not, I'm an, what did I say? I said, I know I'm an overwhelming sister-in-law who gets quite verbally direct,
Uh-huh.
and you don't appreciate it. And I understand that. And it's okay for both of us. They laughed and laughed. They loved it. Like what I was saying was, yeah, I know what you think about me.
Yeah.
I'm just going to own it. I'm going to call it out. And I'm going to tell you, let's acknowledge this and move on.
I have a few I have to do. Thank you for inspiring me to do those.
You're
I
welcome.
think both are incredibly powerful. And you said it for you too. Forgiveness and acceptance are part of a process and absolutely aligned with being grateful. Wow, we've covered so much already in like short amount of time. I would love to end on kind of a business question because there is that side to this conversation. Let's say I always like to put myself in the shoes of other people. Let's say I'm a CEO listening to this and saying, "Okay, this is all great, but is this a trackable metric? How do you track the impact of being grateful?"
Okay, so I'm going to actually give some stats on, let's put grateful equates to well-being. Okay.
Yes.
When employees feel that they're supported well-being at work, they have 44% better job satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
They have a 44% more positive work environment.
Mm-hmm.
They have a 39% more supported at work. They feel more supported. Their productivity increases by 39%.
Whoa.
Your retention rate goes up by 34%. You have a better relationship with your colleagues, 32%. You have a better relationship with your managers by 29%. And you have less absenteeism, which is 24%. And this is out of the State of Workplace Health and Wellness in Canada by
Yeah.
Dialogue. These are their stats. They were at the conference. This
Yes.
says it all.
Case made. Done. If you have any follow-up questions, you can call me or Michelle, and we'll send you the stats and the sources. Um, I mean, thank you. Thank you so much. I am so grateful for you accepting to be on the show, for sharing your stories, for sharing your method, simple yet incredibly effective method to being a grateful person and leader. Um, I'd love to end and ask you our infamous vibe check question. How are you doing really, Michelle?
I'm calmer, and
Mm-hmm.
I am shocked that I shared the forgiveness and gratitude. I don't think I've talked about that to anybody, but I think it's important for people to know the impact it'll have in your life when you forgive someone for a wrong done to you and kind of frame it in a gratitude context.
Thank you for giving us and sharing this moment with us and accepting to go there and be vulnerable about it. It's truly valuable. I hope this was as enjoyable for you as it was for me. And I think I can speak on behalf of our audience too. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Go forth and be grateful.
Yes, may the gratefulness be with you. Thank you, Michelle. See you soon.
Thank you.